Even long before GTA 6 was leaked in 2022 and officially revealed with trailer 1 in 2023, people were already creating countless theories and speculations about the game, and of course that hasn't changed at all since then. If anything, it has only continued to grow bigger and crazier with every passing month. Now almost every single day, the GTA community comes up with new crazy ideas and theories regarding GTA 6. Some of them sound believable, some are completely insane, and others are surprisingly interesting once you really look into them. So today we're going to explore some of the wildest GTA 6 story theories out there right now, and trust me, some of these are genuinely fascinating. One of the most interesting in my opinion is the idea that Lucia could eventually betray Jason, and honestly that would not be surprising for a Rockstar game story at all. We have already seen betrayal become a major theme in Rockstar titles many times before. In GTA 5 players were given a huge choice at the end of the story, and in Red Dead Redemption 2 Dutch slowly lost Arthur's trust and ultimately turned against him. So the idea of loyalty breaking apart is definitely not new for Rockstar stories. In fact, it is one of their most recurring themes. But why did this specific theory about Lucia betraying Jason become so popular? Well, as most people already know, Jason and Lucia's relationship seems heavily inspired by Bonnie and Clyde, the famous criminal couple. Interestingly, in the real Bonnie and Clyde story, they did not betray each other. Instead, they were betrayed by people connected to them. However, what really made GTA community start talking about Lucia potentially betraying Jason comes from the official GTA 6 website. There is a scene where Lucia is hugging Jason on Vice Beach while holding a gun behind his back, and when the camera angle changes slightly, Lucia almost appears to smirk or smile in a suspicious way. Now obviously that could mean absolutely nothing. Rockstar loves playing with cinematography and dramatic framing, but for many fans that moment felt way too intentional to ignore. People started seeing it as a possible foreshadowing that Lucia could betray Jason later in the story, or maybe that the player will eventually have to choose between two characters. Another major reason why people believe this theory could actually happen comes from the official character descriptions themselves, because Rockstar may have already hinted at the dynamic between Jason and Lucia. In Lucia's description, there is a line that says she's fresh out of prison and ready to change the odds in her favor, and that Lucia is committed to her plan no matter what it takes. That wording is very important because it makes her sound extremely determined and willing to do whatever is necessary to reach her goals. Meanwhile, Jason's description sounds completely different. It says that meeting Lucia could be the best or worst thing to ever happen to him, and honestly, that line alone raised a lot of questions in the community. It immediately sounded like Jason is going to get dragged into something much bigger and more dangerous because of Lucia and her ambitions. There is also another line saying that Jason wants an easy life, but things just kept getting harder. That suggests he may not actually want the chaotic criminal lifestyle as much as Lucia does. On the other hand, Lucia's description includes the line saying the only thing that matters is who you know and where you got, which sounds much colder. So when you compare both descriptions side by side, you can clearly see a difference in motivations between two characters. Jason seems more emotionally attached to her and possibly genuinely in love, while Lucia appears more focused on ambition and achieving her goals no matter the cost. And when you combine that with what we know about Lucia's difficult past in Liberty City and her rough upbringing, it becomes easier to understand why some believe she could eventually betray Jason if it meant securing the future she wants. And do you remember trailer 1? The main theme of trailer 1 was trust, because in the end of the trailer, when Lucia and Jason were in bed in the motel, they were talking about trust, which is also kind of interesting. Of course, none of this confirms anything, it is still just a theory, but compared to many other GTA 6 theories online, this one actually has some solid foundation behind it and could actually genuinely end up being true. The second very popular theory is that Jason could secretly be a cop, or at least somehow connected to law enforcement. And unlike some completely random GTA theories online, this one has a bit of evidence behind it too. People have been talking about this ever since trailer 1 dropped, and after trailer 2, many fans feel even more convinced that there could be something suspicious going on with Jason. The first reason comes from trailer 1 itself. There is a scene shown from a police body cam during what looks like some kind of raid or police operation, and during that scene some people noticed a character from behind who slightly resembles Jason. And we cannot say it with certainty, but the resemblance was enough to get the community talking. And honestly, Rockstar loves hiding small details like this in their trailers, so fans immediately started building theories around it. Then, trailer 2 and the official character descriptions added even more fuel to the theory. Jason is described as someone who grew up around grifters and crooks and also had a stint in the army. The military background is what really caught people's attention. Because of that, many fans started thinking that Jason could have some sort of connection to law enforcement, federal agents or some other authorities. Maybe not as a full undercover cop exactly, but possibly someone cooperating with them in some way. Honestly, that makes more sense than him being a traditional undercover officer. Realistically, an actual undercover cop would never be allowed to do the insane things we're obviously going to do in GTA 6. Imagine robberies, murders, massive shootouts, and all kinds of criminal activity just to catch one person like Lucia. So the theory evolved into something a bit more believable. Instead of Jason secretly being a police officer, maybe he's informing for someone, has ties to law enforcement because of his military background, or gets forced into cooperating with authorities at some point of the story. Again, none of this is confirmed, but compared to a lot of other GTA 6 theories, this one definitely has some foundation and enough small hints for people to keep seriously discussing it. Another variation of this theory is that Jason might actually be a dirty cop, someone who profits from criminal activity like drug robberies and other illegal deals, while also potentially acting as an informant for the police. There are a few different layers to this idea, and fans have been connecting small details from trailers to support it. For example, in trailer 2, when Jason arrives at the prison to pick up Lucia, he speaks to a guard and mentions Lucia's name and his own. The guard then asks, "I have seen you here before," and Jason replies, "You might have." On its own, that doesn't confirm anything. It could simply mean Jason has visited Lucia before, it could also suggest he has been inside that prison at some point himself, but some fans think it might hint at something deeper, like Jason having previous interactions with law enforcement or even knowing certain officers in this prison. Another interesting moment comes from a different scene in trailer featuring a mysterious police officer. Many people believe this character could be a major antagonist in the story rather than just a background NPC. He is given a lot of screen time, a clear dialogue line, and is framed in a way that makes him feel important. This led to another theory about the dialogue in that scene. In GTA games, conversations are usually played when at least one main character is present in the situation. That made fans question who exactly it is in that room during the police conversation. In that scene, the officer says, "Us cops, we gotta protect each other," while speaking to someone. And we only see part of another person on the left side of the frame, just an elbow, without revealing the person at all. Because of the framing, many fans believe that unseen person could be Jason. If that is the case, it would strongly support the idea that he has some kind of connection to law enforcement, whether as a dirty cop, informant, or some kind of working for both sides. Of course, this is all speculation, but it is not completely out of place for a Rockstar's title. We have seen similar situations before in GTA 5, where characters worked with the corrupt officials like Steve Haynes, and even earlier in GTA San Andreas, where CJ was forced to cooperate with dirty cops, as well as in GTA 4, which also explored police corruption and manipulations. So while it sounds crazy, this theory does have some grounding in Rockstar's past storytelling patterns. Another very strange theory comes from a supposed story leak that surfaced some time ago. According to it, Lucia has a child that she ends up abandoning before going on to take part in a bank robbery, which ultimately leads to her arrest. The leak described this only as a cutscene, possibly a flashback showing events from her past. After that moment, the leaker reportedly had no further details about what happens next. Now, if this were true, it could potentially explain part of Lucia's background and motivations. It also wouldn't be completely out of place in a Rockstar story. In games like Red Dead Redemption 2, we already saw how family life and children can exist within the narrative, such as Jack Marston being part of the camp and interacting with the main character. Because of that, it is not impossible that a child could exist in the world of GTA 6 in some form, even if briefly or just in a flashback sequence. If this leak is real, which is very uncertain, the child might only appear in a single moment tied to Lucia's past and then never be seen again throughout the main story. But that also raises an important question. What would the purpose of that even be in the story? If a child appears only once and then disappears completely, it makes you wonder how it would actually affect the narrative or character development in a meaningful way. At the moment, it is hard to see how it would fit with the story. Because of that, this theory should definitely be taken taken with a large grain of salt. It doesn't fully make sense yet why Rockstar would introduce something like that in such a limited way. On the other hand, it could also be that the child is not abandoned in literal sense, but instead is being cared for by Lucia's mother or other relatives. We also know from description that Lucia is trying to provide for her family, which could potentially include the child as well. However, that would also raise another layer of complexity, because the way she's trying to provide for them involves extremely dangerous criminal activity. In the end, it is all speculation, and we will only know how it fits into the story once the game is actually released. Well, if you saw the theory about Lucia having a child was crazy, then this one takes things even further. Another theory suggests that Jason from GTA 6 could actually be Arthur Morgan's great-grandson. On the surface, it sounds completely far-fetched, but there is a small reason why it even started circulating online. It mostly comes down to Jason's appearance. Some fans noticed that he shares a similar jawline, hairstyle, and overall facial structure with Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2. Because of that visual resemblance, people started speculating about a possible bloodline connection. However, realistically, there is no real evidence to support this idea. First of all, the two games exist in separate universes. While Rockstar does include small Easter eggs and references between titles, they are not meant to share a single connected timeline or canon universe. Secondly, Arthur Morgan's known story does not support this theory either. Arthur had a son named Isaac with a woman named Eliza. Both Isaac and Eliza were tragically killed during a robbery. Because of that, there is no known surviving lineage that could connect Arthur Morgan to Jason in any meaningful way. So while the resemblance might be interesting and fun to talk about, this theory is almost certainly just a coincidence rather than anything intentional from Rockstar. You might also remember another big topic that gained a lot of attention right after trailer 1 for GTA 6 dropped in 2023. It involved a scene showing a woman in a bikini standing on a rooftop near a pool. That character quickly became known online as a bikini girl. The reason this sparked so much debate is because the community became split into two groups. One group believed that this bikini girl was actually Lucia, while the other group argued that she was just a random NPC. And from there, people started doing extremely detailed comparisons. People analyzed facial structure, makeup, body proportions, and even tried to match small details like moles on the face. Some people argued that differences could be explained by character customization, lighting, or camera angle. For example, things like hairstyles looked different, and some believed that glasses could be affecting eye color due to reflections or polarization. Others pointed out that Bikini Girl appeared to have fewer visible facial moles compared to Lucia. Because of all these small similarities and differences, the theory grew much bigger than expected. In the end, there is still no definitive answer, and realistically we won't know for sure until the game is released and we can compare everything properly in-game. Personally, I lean toward the idea that it is Lucia, but at this point it remains speculation either way. Only the final game will confirm it. The final theory is about the possible presence of the Florida Panhandle on the GTA 6 map. The reason this even became a topic of discussion is because we already know that the state of Leonida is based on real-life Florida. And if you look at Florida's geography, it has that distinct northern extension on the northwest side, commonly known as the Florida Panhandle. It stretches roughly 200 miles and borders Georgia to the north. Because of that real-world shape, many fans assume that this region would also be included in the game's map. However, after the 2022 leaks, trailer analysis and various screenshots breakdowns, the community mapping project eventually leaned toward removing it due to lack of evidence. There were also a few misunderstandings along the way. In trailer 2, there was a moment where fans believed they had spotted part of the map, but it actually later was clarified to be just oranges or fruit in the scene, not a map. So far, there is no confirmed evidence that the Panhandle region will be part of the game. That's why the community map like State Leonida have excluded it. But still, the mapping community has done an impressive job reconstructing the world based on available information. Of course, it would be interesting if the Panhandle does appear in the final game, as it would significantly expand the northern part of the map, but for now it remains pure speculation. And that wraps up all the theories covered in this video. These are some of the most popular and widely discussed ideas circulating in the community, and as you can see, some are grounded in strong arguments while others are very speculative and just fun. And if history with Rockstar games is anything to go by, these theories are not going to stop anytime soon. In fact, as we get closer to launch, and especially after release, even more mysteries and discussions will appear, just like with GTA 5, GTA 4 and other Rockstar titles. titles. The community will continue to dig into every detail for years. So GTA 6 will be no different. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing for more content, and when trailer 3 drops, I'll be doing full breakdowns and analysis that I think you will enjoy. I hope to see you in the next one.